Handout 3 goes along with handout 2. We are still using the distributive property, but this focuses on negative numbers. So a negative sign indicates the opposite of a number. So like on this number right here, we can say negative 9x, but we could also call this the opposite of 9x. And if we had a number in front of it, like if we had a 5 here, we'd say 5 minus 9x. So it really just depends on where it is and how you're reading it. So let's just find the opposite of each term below for a reminder. The opposite of 8 is negative 8. Opposite of this would be 5. The opposite of x would be a negative x. And remember, there's an imaginary 1 here, but we don't need to put that down. The opposite of this would be 3x. The opposite of this would be negative 1. And the opposite of this would be 9x. So when you're distributing a negative number, you're multiplying each term within the parentheses by the negative number outside. So we're talking about when there's a negative number on the outside. So the results in finding the opposite of each term. So really, all of that is really kind of confusing. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to go to the example and do it like we've been doing it in class. So we have negative 3 times 2. So that's negative 6. And then we don't put a sign down. And then we have negative 3 times 4x. We know a negative times a positive is a negative. So I'm going to write negative 12x. And there's my answer. And if we wanted to flip it around, we could do negative 12x minus 6 if we like the coefficient and the variable in front. It's not wrong if you don't. So if you want to pause and try these on your own, otherwise you can follow along with me. So we got negative 2 times g, negative 2g. Negative 2 times 5, negative 10. Write it just like it sounds. Please don't use a calculator with these small numbers unless you absolutely have to. Negative 2 times negative g. A negative times a negative is a positive. And then negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. Negative 2 times g, negative 2g. Negative 2 times negative 5, positive 10. Negative 2 times negative g, positive 2g. Negative 2 times negative 5, positive 10. So they're just showing you all the different ways. It depends on where the negative is. You can have all those different answers. Okay, then the next row, we got a negative times a positive, so we get negative 12a. Negative 3 times 2, negative 6. Negative 3 times negative 4a, positive 12a. Negative 3 times 2, negative 6. Negative 3 times 4, negative 12a. Negative 3 times negative 2, positive 6. Negative 3 times negative 4a, positive 12a. Negative 3 times negative 2, positive 6. Okay, so really you don't really have to answer these questions. It's just asking like what you noticed. So basically, in each set, the negative changed. It just depended on where the negatives were. So, mistakes that could be made, it's kind of easy to miss the negative sign, especially like right here on this negative 2. People miss that, or they forget to multiply and they just put down negative 2 here. So you just have to be careful. Okay, again, you can use a calculator if you need to, but we want you to try not to. Why don't you go ahead and pause, and then I will go ahead and write the answers down, and you see if you can get them. Okay, so I have the answers there. You should be able to read them. On this number 11, remember, don't get freaked out about the half. It's just dividing that 6 by 2, by a negative 2, and dividing this by a negative 2. Okay, on this one, we got a negative times a negative is a positive. Negative times negative is a positive. Whoops, I want that right. Plus 20j. Next one, we should have a negative times a negative, and then a negative and a positive. and then a negative times a positive, and then a negative times a negative, and there you go. So I want you to go ahead and try 15. Remember, perimeter is the lengths around a figure, all the way around. So really, you're just adding up the sides. There's 4 sides, not just 2. And that, I think, is all I would like you to do when you get done with all of these, is come show me your number 15.